Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. And available wherever podcasts can be found. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notify bell next to it to make sure you always get your new Going In Raw notifications. We're also available on the Patreon at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. We have a variety of reward tiers over there on the Patreon. However, at the $20 a month mark, you can have your video questions sent in right here to Matt Chat, where we will then answer, debate, come to conclusions, not come to conclusions. Maybe we'll even jump to conclusions. Larson, I love Matt Chat. I like it because it gives people a taste of what our community is like.
Indeed.
Yeah, a bunch of weirdos.
But great people.
Oh, no, they're great. They're awesome.
The best.
Who's the first, man?
Guion Halili, Jacksonville.
Number one. Let's see what Guion has to say.
Hey there, friendos. This is Jacksonville's number one Matt Chatter, Guion Halili, back with another Matt Chat question. This week, the question is simple. With NXT moving to USA, what's one thing that could go right and one thing that could go wrong? And take Vince taking control out of NXT, like take that off the table, because we all know that could be the worst thing. But what are other things that could go right and go wrong? Yeah, let me know your thoughts. Peace out. Too sweet. Hearty handshake. Later, guys.
Thank you, Guion.
Thank you, Guion. Steve, please.
Yeah. What's the question about NXT?
Yeah.
Oh.
What's one thing that can go right? What's one thing that could go wrong?
Oh, awesome. Very cool. I was not paying attention during that question. One thing that can go right. I mean, just success in the rating. Honestly, here's what can go right. It can absolutely destroy AEW in the ratings. I mean, that would be good for the WWE. It would be bad for us fans of wrestling. I mean, you could argue it could be bad for WWE because then they would start resting on their laurels again.
Yeah.
But that's potentially something that could go right. It could convince Vince that that's the way it should be done. I kind of wonder if Vince sort of might pull Triple H aside and say, hey, if you completely embarrass AEW, I'll make you executive director of everything in the world. And so we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Something that could go wrong that isn't Vince taking over. There is the possibility that the NXT thing is a very specific to hardcore fans thing. It's possible that it might not connect with the broader audience. I mean, on a good day, Raw does about 1 million to 1.5 million more viewers in the ratings than there are network subscribers. About half that audience are basically hardcore WWE fans, which is a healthy number to have. I mean, it's possible that NXT won't connect with a larger base, and they'll be unable to grow. And at that point, I don't know what you do. Maybe they'll start sending. They'll mess with the entire formula. Right now, it sounds like, according to, I think Ryan Satin mentioned that the plan right now is to keep NXT sort of the way it is.
Yeah, nothing's going to change apparently.
Yeah, but
if that happens,
if it doesn't, I mean, if it doesn't connect, then you darn well better be sure that it will change, because $50 million is $50 million.
Yes.
So that's what I got to say about that.
Best thing. One good thing that can happen is that NXT does well enough in the ratings. Obviously, I don't think it's going to come very close to beating Raw or SmackDown, but does well enough in the ratings that maybe Vince says, oh, this type of wrestling can connect to a larger audience.
When you have a bunch of basically unknowns to the larger community, and if that starts killing on the ratings, oh, wow. So that
people actually like really good ratings. They don't want
over the
top storylines. What you can do with our roster filled with some of the best wrestlers in the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to focus on all these crazy. I like the Roman whodunit saga, but it's benefited everybody involved.
It's silly though.
It's silly,
super silly,
especially with the NWO Roman reveal. It's silly.
Yeah,
you don't need that to motivate good wrestling.
Yeah,
or develop interesting characters. That would be a good thing if NXT does well enough and starts to influence how Raw and SmackDown operate. Make it more, not carbon copies of NXT, but more NXT.
Mm-hmm.
Something that could go wrong, and granted, it's a small sample size. The one episode of NXT we had on USA, it was abridged It was 45 minutes versus 55 to an hour. And just with commercial breaks, it broke up the flow of the show, how we're used to it being presented. Granted, after a few weeks, that's something I'm sure we could all get used to. However, there is a certain amount of charm with how NXT is presented to us. And I don't want the show to lose its charm in terms of how the show is paced, how they approach backstage stuff, interviews. If they can retain the feel and charm of how they operate at Full Sail, then I think the transition to TV should be fine once we get used to commercial breaks and all that kind of stuff. But if there's any sort of issue adapting how NXT operates now to a more standard television format, it's a small thing, but it could make for a less enjoyable viewing experience.
Yeah, that's definitely.
They're all seasoned professionals over there. I'm sure WWE will find a way to make that all work.
Yeah, no, I feel you. Next up, Christopher Rappersod also has a question about NXT. Let's see what he has to say.
Hello, Steve Larson. So my question is, was this a smart move that NXT moved to USA? In my opinion, I'm a little bit nervous because, NXT, I find out like the best wrestling on the planet. And I'm a little bit nervous because when you move into network TV, there's a type of format they want. Then us seeing like wrestling. Now, I don't know how NXT is going to, draw people in. Niggas there, like a thorough brand. Not a lot of people watch the product that much.
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you, Christopher. So a bunch of people arguing on Twitter. Good move, bad move for NXT to go to USA. There's valid, decent points on both sides of the argument.
Yeah, sure.
So my approach for most things generally is wait and see.
Yeah, sure.
All the things we mentioned in terms of what can go wrong with NXT could happen if AEW destroys NXT in the ratings. It could look bad for WWE. It'll be a smart move if NXT is competitive with All Elite. I don't necessarily think they have to destroy him, but if it's neck and neck and they are on top more often than not.
If AEW, sorry not to interrupt you, but I'm just making this point real quick. If AEW destroys NXT in the ratings, that's going to put them very competitive with Raw and SmackDown. That's kind of a big deal.
Because obviously NXT being on USA gives all the incredibly talented men and women of NXT a larger platform on which to ply their trade, which is great for them. And hopefully, come a month from now when the move is made, they will be compensated for performing on a larger platform.
Yeah, so far there's no info
No
on that.
indication that's going to be the case one way or the other. So whether it happens immediately or shortly down the line, I hope everybody in NXT gets a hefty raise.
Yeah.
Because WB is getting paid a handsome sum to broadcast on USA Network, seemingly. As far as the talent there, that's the two things that can go right. From a business standpoint, if it's there and is competitive or crushes AEW in the ratings, then yes, it's going to be a smart move for NXT to go there, so long as the product remains 90% the same. People like NXT because it's an alternative to what they see on the main roster. And if they can retain the feel, the look of NXT while on USA, you give the viewers and fans of the product every indication that Triple H is still in charge and running the show, and Vince isn't meddling to a high degree. You're going to have viewer confidence. You're going to retain the look and feel of the show that we all like. And if it does well in the ratings, it's going to be a huge success for WB. It's going to seem like an incredibly smart move. But if it's not winning in the ratings, people are going to be wondering, why did they do this? Why are they meddling with something that worked fine? And granted, I don't know if giving the talent a raise or not is going to be seen as a smart business move by WWE, but it would stand to reason that if they're getting more money in for this show and it's successful because of the competitors in it, then they should see a portion of the revenue generated by their work. Public relations standpoint, if they don't give those men and women a raise, it's going to be a bad look for them in terms of the optics of it.
Yeah, I'd be pretty shocked if they didn't. I mean, the thing is, so I don't know. It kind of depends on how they end up. So, for example, if name somebody who's specifically on the house show loop and has not cracked TV yet.
Oh, in NXT?
Yeah.
Like Brendan Williams.
Okay, good example. If you're not on NXT TV, number one, I am firmly of the belief that they really should do, and I forget who mentioned this last week or in one of our super chats. I forget what it was, but somebody said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if they had an NXT breakout show simply for the developmental aspect of NXT?
That'd be
keep
great,
that on
yeah.
the network, because
That'd
I
be great.
think that's a big draw for people to keep the network. Sorry, were you?
Anyways, I was just trying to list various reasons why it's there could be positives, there could be potential negatives. It's a wait and see approach, and when they're going to get the jump on AEW, launching about 3 weeks before AEW does, see if they get entrenched in the matter of 3 weeks in that particular time slot. If they develop a certain degree of brand loyalty, and it'll be really interesting to see what the first couple of weeks what the ratings are like. It's all a wait and see thing. I mean, you could name off 10 reasons it's a good idea. You can probably name off at least 5 that might not be a good idea. We all have to wait and see how things play out. So in 3 to 6 months' time, Christopher asked the same question, and we should have a better answer for you.
Well, you just said, there might be 5 good reasons, 10 bad reasons. I'll give you 50 million good reasons why
We don't have it with the show's not long enough.
Why it's a great idea, and there are $50 million bills, man. This was absolutely insane that the WWE was able to command $50 million for this, and I think that is fantastic. As you said, obviously, of course, the people there, especially the ones who are on TV. I mean, that's mainly what I'm talking about. The ones that are on TV. Number one, these guys are already in NXT. They already get a decent amount of money, a lot more than they used to back in the day.
Yeah.
So they're already probably doing pretty well. Their travel schedule, from what it seems like, is still going to be pretty light. That's actually another thing sort of to note, is the fact that it's going to be at Full Sail live every week and not traveling means that I would imagine their schedule is not really going to change that drastically. They're still going to have the time to put together those matches that we've grown accustomed to in NXT, as long as, assuming Vince doesn't come in and meddle too much and say, oh no, they're doing too much, they need to dial it down. If that remains the same, then man, that's really great. But yeah, I think they should. But yeah, they definitely need to spread the wealth around. But my God, the WWE just scored another big deal for. And granted, it's not a $500 million deal, but it's a $50 million deal. $50 million at one point was more than they would net in a year. I mean, not that long ago, before the big TV deals, before the Saudi stuff, it was like. They would spend a lot and they would make a lot, but the profit margin really wasn't that big, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is basically just to set up TV production at Full Sail, like proper TV production. That's kind of interesting. So hopefully they will put that money to good use on their talent.
Yes.
Let's see here. Next. Oh, here we go. Gatlin T has a question. Let's see what a great name, Gatlin.
It's a good name.
Yeah.
Steven Larson. This is the Firefly Funhouse's newest puppet, Gatlin T. And I was wondering, how did the Bray Wyatt / Fiend character get over so quickly? Because it seems like a year ago, Bray Wyatt was near the bottom. Now he's near the top. So how did this happen, and how did this character get over so fast? Thank you guys. Too sweet, and a hearty handshake.
Thank you, Gatlin.
Thank you, Gatlin. So, Larson,
Yeah.
Bray Wyatt. How did he get over so quickly? I go first. This
Go
time.
ahead.
Everything that you wrote down on your question, on your answer sheet here, I completely agree with. So I'm just going to take your answer, and you can say, yeah, everything you said. Because we're on the same page.
Rude.
Well, no, it's this. So you have here, people want a reason to like Bray. And I think that there's kind of a flip side to that. And it's, I think deep down, people not just want to like Bray, but they kind of trust in Bray. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like once we found out that he was behind the genesis of the Fiend stuff, and he was behind a lot of the creative for it, the questions then were, when's Vince going to mess it up? But like the fact that he was behind it all was not surprising, I don't think, to anybody. It was very, I'm not going to say pleasantly surprising. It was pleasantly surprising that they would let him do something that he had this much creative freedom with. But it wasn't surprising that guy, who had already rebranded himself as Bray Wyatt from Husky Harris, could do something in this next evolution of the Bray Wyatt character. Not surprising at all. I think people just appreciate the fact that Bray Wyatt has been allowed to do this. So there is that aspect of it. We like when wrestlers sort of, as Vince likes to say, grabs the brass ring. I was talking to you earlier when we were watching 205 earlier today about Drew Gulak, another guy who, when you first see the guy, a couple of years ago, you think, oh, well, he kind of just sort of blends in. There's nothing so crazy over the top about his appearance, but everything he does makes him stand out. All of his actions, and then he rebrands himself as this sort of General Zod intense guy, and it's just you can't take your eyes off him. Bray is the same way. This guy knows how to be. This guy is a creative force. He really is, and that's been obvious since day one. It's been obvious in everything he does, and the fact that people have always wanted him. I said this for such a long time. No matter how deep they bury Bray, he always has the presence of a main eventer. And so I think he could always be a main eventer, and now that's being played out. They've given him the ball, and he has run so far with it. I think that's one reason why, is because people really appreciate Bray in the first place, and this is him letting to let his imagination run wild. So I think that's one aspect of it. And on top of that, the execution of the Firefly Funhouse and the Fiend has been just so impeccable. It's been so well done. Then you find out that Tom Savini's involved, and it's like, oh my God, the credibility there. And then you hear the theme song. It's just every note that they've hit has been so awesome, even down to breaking Finn Balor's neck in 80s action movie fashion. It's all been really, really objectively good. It's difficult to say, oh, this is subjective. Maybe it's not. No, man, this is objectively, this is amazing. This is great stuff. So that's why.
Yeah, I think based on his prior run, people were starting to get behind him. We saw that moment where Bray and Triple H, when Triple H was champ, had that moment. Bray kind of rubbed his finger on the belt.
And it just gets you thinking, oh, why don't they? Why don't they do that?
A character as interesting as Bray, who seems creative, seems to be really in tune with his characters, do interesting things. And when he wasn't given the opportunity to do interesting things, people were bummed out about it. People saw there was huge money involved, potentially, in pushing Bray as a featured performer. Now he disappeared for a while, recuperated from injury, came back as this new iteration of Bray Wyatt. So he had the goodwill of the fan base behind him already. And then they see him doing something different that feels fresh, that feels new, that's clever, that's creative, that's interesting, well executed. They see him out there taking chances, not just kind of regurgitating the same character archetypes we see in the past from WWE. And people are intrigued by it. Week after week with Firefly Funhouse, we see more interesting little bits pop up. There's a depth to it that is lacking for most wrestling storytelling. And it's intriguing, gets people talking. And that's before he even steps foot in the ring again as The Fiend. And they take their time with it. They let things build. They put him in the ring against Finn, who, granted, I know he is on the verge of taking a vacation, but it's the perfect guy for him in that instance. He handles him quickly in a really intriguing and at times shocking, fashion. People are into it. Gets people talking, and then he disappears for a week. We don't see him for a week or two. And so people are chomping at the bit for him to show up on TV and do something weird and interesting and fascinating again.
And even at Raw Reunion, that inspired moment when he takes the mandible claw from the guy from Foley, the guy who used it, and then he continued to use it. Like it's a small passing of the torch that is just so perfectly done. It's the details that he's nailing absolutely correctly. It's great.
Time and time again, he's nailing all the details. Next, got a question from Cult of False Realities.
What's good, Stephen Larson? Cult of False Realities here, back with another Matt Chat question. Once again, this week I'm going to keep it short. I'm a little busy. So, my question is, which one of these did Vince not want to do the most? Have a women's tag team championship unveiled and having to go through all this, like try to get people over, try to show that they actually care about women's wrestling? Or did he not want to do Kofi Kingston winning at WrestleMania? Both of these, it kind of seems like he's stuck in his old ways, especially how things have been with him running shows. So you tell me what you guys think. Too sweet, hearty handshake. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Cult of False Reality.
Thank you.
I'll answer this question by referencing to a story on Wrestle Talk. Apparently, Tom Callahue of Sportskeeda had a report that said, quote, Vince didn't want women's tag team titles. He was under a lot of pressure, so he brought them in early without thinking much about them. There was no plan. We still don't know if there's any plan. This is from early August, pre-SummerSlam. Continued, one source suggested this was to appease Banks, whereas another just cited horrible timing for the lack of use thus far. So if this report is to be believed, Vince had no interest in the women's tag titles, which would explain how they were handled for the first 4 months of their existence.
Yeah.
They seem to have some sort of direction for them now that Bliss and Cross have them. Hopefully that continues. I mean, there was like a groundswell of support to will these belts into existence. Potential is there for them to do really interesting stuff with it, especially to be cross-brand.
Yeah, no.
You know, not just Raw and SmackDown, but NXT as well. They could have done some really interesting stuff. More or less drop the ball nearly immediately. And
I'm even hesitant to think that right now there's any real direction with them. I mean,
I don't know if there's direction, but at least they're on like the
they're
champions
on
on TV on a regular basis.
It kind of feels more like Vince, we know, really likes Alexa Bliss. I think a lot of people do. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to have Alexa Bliss out there. She needs to do something. Just put the tag team titles on her, and she'll be on TV. But there's no like actual story there, you know.
Well, the story is the continuing interpersonal dynamics between Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss, and right now they're in the
really addressed it though.
Not in a while, but appearing like this, given Alexa's past, especially, you know this thing's doomed.
Yeah, you would think.
So this is kind of, I guess, what you call the honeymoon period before things start going south.
Could be. Yeah, it could be.
So
I hope that's the case.
But the fact that the champions are featured on TV every week,
yeah, sure,
is a huge improvement over the Iconics, through no fault of their own, because they're great too.
Yeah, like
being on TV like once or twice a month.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Next, Master of Memes, Blake Whitehouse.
What's going on, friendos? Blake Whitehouse here with another Matt Chat question. Now, when I think of 2018, I think really great matches, even though it was, oh my god, 2018 was almost 9 months ago. Jeez. But anyway, when I think of 2018, I think of really good matches, specifically 205 Live. Do you think the biggest missed opportunity from last year was a triple threat match between Ali, Buddy Murphy, and Cedric Alexander? And if so, what other matches have been giant missed opportunities WWE could have done? Thank you.
Thank you, Blake.
Thank you, Blake. So yeah, triple threat match between Ali. I think the bigger missed opportunity was a cruiserweight title ladder match.
Oh, at Mania.
At WrestleMania.
Very cool.
That you and I have both been on board with that one. I'm going to say this though. I think the biggest missed opportunity over the past 5 years has been more Bullet Club in WWE, an elongated feud between Finn Balor and AJ Styles. Somehow, some way, you get Gallows and Anderson involved. I mean, they've teased it here and there. They seem very, very hesitant to give Finn Balor any kind of heel or tweener even inclinations. And that to me, I think is the biggest. Is like they make a point of poaching from New Japan members, the high-profile members of the faction that WWE obviously wants. They kept on alluding to it. They called them they still call them the club. Now it's the OC. Now it's the original official only club.
That matters.
But yeah, that matters. Thank you. But I to me, they're absolutely huge, and they really have just kind of flirted with it. AJ and Finn had one match, and that even was, Bray got sick. AJ, can you fly in real quick?
Yeah.
And the crowd ate it up, and they did nothing with it.
Nope.
After that. So that's been kind of a bummer. And to me personally is the biggest missed opportunity of the last couple of years.
You're half right. You're the top missed opportunity in my book of 2018. I mean, not having Ali versus Buddy versus Cedric was a missed opportunity, but not having a satisfying conclusion to the Bullet Club feud in Japan towards the tail end of 2018, That was the largest missed opportunity. I don't know what the politics involved were and all that, as far as Young Bucks, Cody, Kenny's contracts all running out towards the tail end of 2018, how that played and whatever creative decisions that were being made. But to have Cody, the Young Bucks, Kenny remove themselves from Bullet Club via Twitter, it's not very dramatic.
The Jericho Cruise podcast, I think, didn't they like sort of officially confirm there that they were no longer part of Bullet Club?
Yeah, more or less.
And it was like the most underwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you got Tama Tonga, who's trying to put Bullet Club back together, repair it after, their 4 or 5 top stars are leaving. Oh, and Hangman Page is leaving too. So the 5, more or less, their 5 top guys are leaving the faction. And so you got Tama Tonga, who comes out.
Did Marty Scurll ever say anything about that?
No, he just stopped showing up.
That's right.
So was it the Cow Palace show last year where Tama Tonga comes out and attacks Kenny and Cody and the Young Bucks, all the elite guys.
Started rubbing himself.
Yeah. Which is a huge moment. It was awesome.
It was awesome, man.
They didn't really do anything with it.
I know.
Imagine if they had taken the time to tell that story. And I understand it was kind of a compacted period of time between that show, which I think was in August, I want to say, and Wrestle Kingdom. But, man, just, what's the old adage? You're on your way out of the company, go out on your back. Let Tama Tonga get a huge win over somebody.
Yeah, I know. I know.
So there's some drama involved in it. Tama Tonga gets some rub.
I wonder. We've heard that.
Sorry, and
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And tease Jay White joining Bullet Club throughout that whole thing after causing chaos to more or less implode.
Yeah.
Then you get some real intrigue. Then you get Bullet Club reconstituted and it has momentum.
Yeah, right.
Instead of just kind of, here's new Bullet Club. Jay White's our leader now, but not really. And it kind of goes over this doesn't go over well. Like if you want to get this rebuilt faction started off on the right foot, give them momentum. They had none.
Yeah.
None.
I like to a degree, I understand them, like the idea of them sort of quantum leaping away. The Bullet Club, like Kenny lost the title at Wrestle Kingdom and he quantum leaped out of there. He didn't show up in New Year's Dash.
Yeah.
Even though he's still under contract. They did the same thing with the Young Bucks. I think they lost at Wrestle Kingdom.
They did, but their contracts had already expired.
Yeah.
Same with Cody.
Right. So I kind of understand them doing that. Number one, I agree with everything you said. But what bothered me especially was then when Tama Tonga gets on Twitter and says, because I think according to Jericho, he said something like, these days, if you join a faction or something, they just want you to put it on Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't get that. I don't get that at all. Like New Japan is known for their dramatic moments.
Well, when Jay White refused to join Bullet Club is a dramatic thing.
Yeah,
Kenta New Year's Dash. Yeah,
Bullet Club was a huge thing.
Yeah,
and Tama Tonga crowning Jay White as leader of Bullet Club on Twitter in a tweet. And then they show up and like Jay just looks kind of a bit on the meek side. Like these days I would kind of believe it, but like, is he even, I don't know. I think it all seems very, I don't know. It was a massive missed opportunity. I kind of wonder if New Japan simply, and maybe the execution was really lousy, if they wanted the end of that era of Bullet Club to just go down like a dry fart leading into All Elite Wrestling. I wonder if that's the case.
It could be.
I wonder if they
wanted them to leave with no momentum.
These guys are leaving.
Could be.
And even them on the losing end of a big blow off is more momentum than them just
kind of whimpering out the door. Yeah, entirely possible.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Entirely possible.
I mean, they do kind of, there does seem to be some indication that there are. I guess that just wouldn't surprise me. That just wouldn't surprise me if they thought to them, if the thinking was, well, these guys are leaving, they're going to be our North American competitors to a big degree. So Ring of Honor is not doing anything.
No.
WWE's in a whole other stratosphere.
Yep.
We're trying to get into North America. Now All Elite's there. Like we're going to be competing with them for talent.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to put a bunch of dollars into marketing this thing, and the downside of that would be we're going to put a bunch of dollars marketing this. People are going to be behind the elite because that's who people like, you know. And so even if they get beat by all of our guys, that's still going to give them momentum going to wherever they're going next.
It could be, I don't know.
So it's like, where are you going to put your dollars? Put it in the other stuff that they had going on at the time.
Maybe. Next, Ron Armenta.
Hi, Steve.
And Larson.
And we have a Matt Chat question. Take it away, Seth.
Will Asuka get a shot at Becky's belt since she already beat Becky once, or has that ship already sailed?
And then my question is this. Who's going to be the next Undertaker? And what I mean by that in the context of ticket sales, spectacle, and views like on social media and other platforms. What does WWE need to do with that current main roster superstar to ensure their success? Thanks a lot. Too sweet and hearty handshake. Bye.
Thank you, Ron and Seffi.
Thank you.
All right, here we go.
All right, answer the first part of the question. Will Asuka get a shot at Becky's title? Not anytime soon. The WWE doesn't seem that interested in using Asuka these days.
Eventually.
I would like to hope.
Eventually.
Howew
Asuka in NXT again. Yeah, that's not a good idea.
No, she's so darn good.
I know.
She's one of the best wrestlers in the whole world.
I know.
They've really dropped the ball with Asuka. Hopefully sometime down the line, yes, but because she certainly has a claim to get a title shot considering she beat Becky. That being said, I'm not getting my hopes up anytime soon. As far as who can have a gimmick, kind of like Undertaker, that lasts a while, that draws fans, you got to think it's Bray.
Oh, yeah, dude.
This current iteration of Bray Wyatt, the Fiend. He's got the mystique. The crowd's interested in what he's doing. It's different. It's clever. It's highly creative. If he can still kind of lead the charge in terms of his creative and keep this momentum up, possibility is that this is going to be huge, over huge, and 20 years down the line, we could have the Fiend up there with the likes of Undertaker in terms of these gimmick characters. Although I mean, calling the Fiend a gimmick character kind of overly simplifies what the Fiend is. But the comparison could be made.
Sure, absolutely. No, I agree with that. There isn't anybody like him. The only other comparable thing, but I kind of feel like it's sort of not going to happen.
Demon Balor.
The Demon is Demon Balor. It's like they like Finn, not enough for him to win big matches. The problem is the big matches are where the Demon should be coming out, so they just don't have.
They just don't have him come out then.
Yeah. Like if the Saudi government wants to see Demon Balor, they'll bring out Demon Balor and make sure it's against an opponent that they know he's going to win.
Yeah. Next question from Stephen M.
What's going on, friendo? Stephen M here, back from a bit of a hiatus. I was at a 7-day festival there just the past 7 days, and I'm dying a bit. But I'm just catching up on SummerSlam, and it made me think Kofi Kingston's had more of a meaningful reign and impactful reign than AJ Styles did, even though AJ had a very long reign. So I'd like to, for each debate, it's better to have a meaningful reign that might necessarily go that long, but does a lot, versus a reign that lasts really long, has the record books, but just doesn't make that level of impact. And I rank the 5 best reigns of the past couple of years and the 5 kind of disappointing reigns of the past 5 years over any title.
Thank you, Stephen M.
Thank you, Stephen M.
It's apropos that his last initial is M because I'm going to say the best title reigns are the meaningful title reigns. Because that's totally true, man. You can take a look at... Let me ask you something. He brings up AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Would AJ Styles' title reign, would it have been more impactful had it been interrupted by a short title reign from Samoa Joe or Shinsuke Nakamura?
Yeah,
where he had to go back and chase it again.
I think so.
If you look at Stone Cold Steve Austin, he had that title, I think it's 7 times. And during the first year that he became, 98, when he won it from Shawn Michaels, he had it for, I think, 3 months, and then Kane got it, and then he had to win it back.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff is just more memorable.
Yeah.
When there's more ups and downs as opposed to AJ always winning or DQ finishers or whatever.
Here's the thing: is like I enjoyed like the creative for the Joe feud was fun, no point I really feel like Joe had any chance of winning that title.
Right.
Same with Nakamura, especially after Mania. It just didn't feel like anybody they put in front of AJ was a real serious contender to really beat him.
The Joe one is especially infuriating because when you are going to a dude's house in storyline and you're terrorizing their family, you have all the leverage in the world. That should have translated to a guarantee win for Samoa Joe. And then AJ has to pick up his family life before he comes back and gets that title back.
Here's another thing that Kofi's title reign has going for it is there's an overarching story they've been telling with it.
Yeah.
And that it took him 11 years to get the opportunity. He wins, and now his opponents are viewing him as essentially not worthy of holding that title. So feud after feud, match after match, the story is Kofi saying, yeah, I am a champion. I could have been a champion 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and AJ's reign didn't have that overarching story.
Yeah.
I think that's what really provides meaning to Kofi's reign is that there's a story being told because of his reign.
Yeah. It's funny because when you look back at the Attitude Era, one thing about Stone Cold's titles was there were so many people waiting, and they used to play I'm going to say hot potato, but that title traveled.
Yeah.
That title went through, Stone Cold, Kane, then Stone Cold again.
Well, I mean, like
Mankind,
The Rock and Foley
The Rock.
traded back and forth 2 or 3 times.
Undertaker, I think, had it back then. So it made the rounds because the story was always compelling, and everybody, like, they wrote them like they were sharks on camera, and there were sharks backstage politicking, but on camera there was so much chaos and everybody was going at everybody that it made sense for it to trade hands so many times. They have double the talent at least now than they did then. And yet they insist on going with these long title reigns. Jinder had it for 6 months, and you always knew that he was going to take the cheap way out to keep it, and it just lacked all drama. And with AJ, it was the same thing. It was like once you sort of saw, okay, well, Shinsuke didn't get it like that first time, or not, so WrestleMania, like the second time, it just. Once you got to Joe, you're right. There
Didn't feel like any drama involved.
It was like, no, he's not going to get that.
No.
You need that shocking moment where AJ has to choose between his family and the title, and we never got that.
Not really, no.
It was always, you get your cake and eat it too, and that's never interesting.
Nope. So, yeah, meaningful reigns are vastly more important, I feel like.
Agreed.
Next, Rich.
Friendos, Rich here with a little bit of fantasy booking today for a Matt Chat question, just because I can't think of anything relative or important to ask. If Steve and Larson, the shit twins, were to get called into NXT, who would you guys beat for the NXT tag titles? How would you guys go about your characters down there? Then when you got called up to main roster, would you rather go to Raw or SmackDown, and explain why?
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Rich, and Baby Rich.
Yes. This is a fun question. So if we were NXT, I can't think of another team that would be more deserving of dropping the belts to us than Forgotten Sons.
I don't know, man.
I don't know how you can argue that point.
I can. I have a great answer here because I hope this team ends up in NXT.
Yeah, no, your team you're mentioning here will mop the floor with us.
Yeah.
Forgotten Sons, I feel like we got a chance.
I don't think we have a chance against it.
No,
they have Terminator. They've got
Jackson Riker is ejected from the ringside area. Yeah, he's ejected from ringside, so it's fine. So we have a good lengthy title reign in NXT. Eventually we get called up. We'll drop him to Mustache Mountain. And then we'll go to SmackDown.
Why are we going to SmackDown? I want to go to Raw. It's the A show.
Not when SmackDown's on Fox, man.
No, I don't want to go to SmackDown.
Why?
That's where Brock's going to be. I don't want to be backstage. Brock's hanging out back there.
He's got his own locker room, man. He doesn't come out unless he flies in, he goes to his locker room, he does his thing.
He hates people.
Yeah, but once he's done, he's gone.
How do you handle...
You don't have to interact with them. Imagine if he's hungry, food's brought to him.
Okay, dude, but what about the wrestler code where you have to go up and shake everybody's hand?
You just go up and shake his hand, man. This is one time.
What if he, hates me immediately?
Then just run away.
He's going to catch me. He's like a bear.
Why don't you grow up?
No, man. You go up to Brock and you think, I'll grow up.
Hi, Brock. Nice to meet you.
No, he'll say, I don't give a shit about you.
That's fine.
That's what he'll say.
I'm not going to take it personally.
Yeah, you will. You'll
No,
start crying.
I would not.
You'll cry.
No, because I expect that.
No.
And what if he's like the nicest guy? It's like, oh, nice to meet you.
He's not.
You don't know
seen
that.
him.
You don't know that.
He'd say, what do you want? You're like, I'm here to pay my respect.
I'm here to say hello to the champ.
He spits on your hand.
Okay, it's fine.
That's good? You're good?
I'll take it. It's
oh,
fine.
Man.
Because that's the only interaction I'll ever have to have with
What
him.
if he pulls down your pants and points at your dingus in front of everybody and your hog is shriveled up from fear?
I mean, it is what it is, man.
I don't think so. I'd be terrified. I'm just staying away from him. No, we're going to Raw, dude.
Nah.
You know who the locker room leader there is? Roman Reigns. It's
He's
great.
on SmackDown.
Awesome. He's also on Raw, too. We'll get to hang out with Seth Rollins. All those dudes, all they do is play video games.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
I really don't do that much anymore, though.
Who doesn't?
I don't play video games much anymore.
Yeah, but you need to start.
I want to go to
hang out on Raw
SmackDown because I
locker
want to talk to Kofi about shoes. He has sneaker vlogs too, you know.
room. Whatever. You go. Well, it'll break us up.
Fine.
You go to SmackDown. I'll go to Raw.
Fine, we'll be broken up with the draft.
Good. Nobody will be sad about that.
Nope, nobody's sad.
They're like, oh God, thank God. Maybe they won't be on TV anymore.
Send me to 205. And then
I could see you and Oni Lurkin as a team. That'd be good. You could both sleep under a bench.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm not that huge on the out of doors, but whatever.
Nemo's got a text question for us. She says, is it acceptable that every wrestler who learned or is learning English as a second language on the main roster has a mouthpiece now? She says, in her opinion, the mouthpieces should be translators more than speak for them, and they stay mute.
No, it's garbage, man.
It's more than garbage. It's bull BS. It's light profanity.
It is bull light profanity. Like the idea of a translator, that at least makes a bit more sense because at least the competitor is actually speaking on their own.
Yeah.
And if you want to translate it, whatever. I don't think that's even necessary.
No, I want some dude out there talking. No, man, I want to hear what Shinsuke's voice sounds like.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I don't even care that dude's speaking English. He can speak whatever language he wants. Everything I need to know about Shinsuke Nakamura is in this.
Yeah.
And his body language. He can communicate better than half the people on that roster.
Yep.
Better than 90% of the people on that roster. Same goes with Asuka. Same goes with Andrade. Andrade's case is actually one that really works because him and Zelina Vega are a darn good team.
Yes.
They fit together.
Well, and they could play off each other, and that's really the thing. A lot of it is chemistry. But I don't want Nakamura, who I know has all the charisma in the world, just to stand there while someone else does the talking for him.
Yeah.
Not interested in that.
She was so perfectly storyline motivated too.
I know.
His losing ways was chalked up to his partying ways.
And she comes in and rehabilitates him essentially.
And their chemistry is great. In that situation, it works perfectly. She's with him, they work together as a unit. But if you have Shinsuke who's been around forever and they just slap Sami Zayn with him, it doesn't make any sense. It's not necessary.
No, see the thing about Zelina and Andrade, they feel like a team. They feel like a cohesive unit.
Yeah.
And there's a story to explain why that's the case. We'll probably never get that with Sami and Nakamura because it'll probably last all about 3 months.
Yeah. There's an element of Paige with the Kabuki Warriors that I'm okay with, but I mean they're not on TV ever. But when she
just had neck surgery, so she's laid up for a while.
She's probably gonna be gone for a while.
It's completely unnecessary. It's completely
It
unnecessary.
is.
It's completely unnecessary.
It is.
You see Asuka, you see Nakamura, you see Andrade. How insanely over they get in NXT.
I know.
And then it's because of Vince.
And you hear the pop on the main roster for Asuka. You hear that.
It's because of Vince.
Yeah.
It's because of Vince that he apparently feels this is necessary, and it's completely unnecessary.
It is. It's stupid.
If you got characters with or performers with immense charisma, you get creative for them that highlights that charisma, that communicates.
And on top of that, I would think that it would serve to drive potential signees away. If you have some huge star on the international stage, like Sonata, for example, what are they going to do? Put a translator, put some dudes. Sonata looks so cool. It's just a lone figure. He doesn't need some little dude next to him, talking for him, saying things for him.
No, I agree.
So he has a meeting for WWE. What's the deal? You going to put somebody with me? Well, yeah, because Vince doesn't like people who Vince doesn't think there's value in people who don't speak English. All right, well, no then.
No, I'll stay here in New Japan and eventually get the heavyweight title here.
Yeah,
and make good money.
I don't know. It's.
I mean, I understand Nemo's point about. Has there been a manager
translator
who operated as translator, whereas the wrestler would talk and then the manager, whomever would translate.
I want to say, what was the name of Great Khali's guy?
Oh, I don't remember.
Did he translate?
I don't remember.
I honestly don't remember.
I mean, I wouldn't be huge into it, but at least I could see a dynamic there that could potentially be interesting.
Who, with Khali and his
No, just in theory.
Yeah.
If it's it would be it could potentially be a more interesting dynamic than just manager and then Nakamura saying they're silent. You know.
So when I look back, maybe this is the reason why I think about this with Khali and whoever the dude was he was with. Khali comes off like a special attraction guy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Like, look at this guy. He looks like something you'd see. I don't know, in the Guinness World of Records or something like that. Then there's an element of, I don't know, that I think that some of that might have worked if they did do that. I don't know. I'm just sort of thinking in my head. But like there are certain people like, I don't know, it doesn't. Asuka should be a loner.
Yeah.
You know, she should be like
Agreed,
screaming in Japanese and she wrecks people
and
that translates more than anything.
Ideally, I don't know why they don't do this. The way Io Shirai's creative has been since she turned heel.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I know, perfect. Yeah.
Where her screaming at the fans in Japanese works perfectly.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not necessarily into the translator idea. Maybe it would work more effectively. Maybe, could be wrong though, than just a straight up manager with his silent client.
Mm-hmm.
Could not. I don't know, but both situations completely unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
You get all these performers with such charisma.
Yeah.
Charisma and pro wrestling are universal language.
I think the way that it could work is, so in the UFC, for example, after, and I'm just going back because this is when I was watching, Anderson Silva wins a fight, there is a translator there.
Yeah.
He doesn't follow Anderson Silva around.
No.
There's a translator there who Anderson Silva talks. I mean, this happens with all the wrestlers, for all the UFC guys who don't speak English. They talk, there's a translator there. So the idea is you just have somebody present who can translate. If they're going to be in the ring after a match or before a match, they're going to translate. I think that's a bit more acceptable, but you'd have to introduce that like at the outset.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
For it to make sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's sort of how it would work for me. But no, man, pro wrestling, this is why English speakers, people from North America, Europe, can go to Japan or Germany or Mexico, any number of places, not know the language, and still get over with fans. There is a universal language of physicality,
of pro wrestling
and presentation,
charisma.
and charisma, and character and personality
totally.
that transcends any language.
It really does. So all these people
Wrestling
talking
is
for
great.
wrestlers is completely unnecessary.
That's why, dude, we can seriously watch Triple Mania, not listen to commentary, and be totally fine.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Got a few more text questions next from Luis Ariza. Who is the best pure heel and pure babyface in all of pro wrestling? He says the best face is Tanahashi. Hard to argue with the ace. And then top heels are Jay White and Baron Corbin.
Baron Corbin?
What say you, Steve?
Man, so Luis's pick of Tanahashi is the number one pick. It is. A guy who has so much legacy. People love him. They have always loved him. There is a genuine quality. Tanahashi has such a Superman thing. He seems so genuine, and yet he seems so superhero in appearance.
Yeah.
And there is something about that. You don't want to see him get beat up. It feels bad in your soul to see Tanahashi get beat up. I went with two guys who, when I try to think of, okay, what's a pure babyface? I think of somebody who has nothing but perseverance, who has displayed nothing but fight, nothing but ambition, and a genuine sincerity to them. I think Mustafa Ali. He's not on TV a lot these days, and that's a total bummer.
Yeah.
That is an absolute drag.
Yeah, I thought of him as well.
But Mustafa Ali, to me, is the kind of guy, what you're looking at is somebody who, if he gets powerbombed 5 times by Walter, if he gets F5'd 18 times by Brock Lesnar, you're not going to be asking for one more.
No.
You're going to be, hey, this needs to stop now. And you want whoever is doing that to get beat up.
Yes.
So I got Mustafa Ali, another guy who I think has all the tools, and he probably just needs a couple more months of just really good booking, and that's Cedric Alexander. I think those two guys are probably the closest thing to like pure baby faces, guys who you don't want to see them get beat up, and you root for. As far as top heels, I as much as I'm actually going to part with Luis on his picks of Jay White and Baron Corbin. I think Jay White is terrific, but he's the kind of guy who he gets in there and you don't really want to see him get beat up. You just know that he's going to put on a really good match, and that sort of overrides everything. That's one of the problems with heels these days is there are so few actual heels who you want to see get beat up, and that's what's key is you want to see them get beat up. Like, for example, take Tommaso Ciampa, for example. Deep down, I never really wanted to see him get beat up. I just want to see him work.
Yeah, because you know he's that damn good.
Because you think he's that darn good. So I went with right now, currently, for me, Randy Orton. Randy Orton is in a feud with Kofi Kingston, who is smaller than him, who has all the heart. Randy Orton, this guy who is privileged, basically, has been handed all these opportunities, has an air of I'm better than you going for him. Now he's hanging out with the Revival. He just really comes off because he's obviously really sort of motivated by his work these days. To me, that actually translates to I want to see Kofi Kingston beat up Randy Orton. I want to see that. That entertains me. Another guy is Walter. Again, I really love his work, but man, I want to see somebody beat him up.
He does mean really well.
If I see Jordan Devlin in there with him, or this coming up Tyler Bate match, I want to see them beat him up. And then he powerbomb freaking Trent Seven, one of my favorites. Powerbomb like 5 times into oblivion.
I want to see Walter just chop everybody.
That's totally fine. But those are my answers right now.
Those are bad answers. Top babyface, I'm going to say, I almost said Mustafa Ali, and I think
your answer is right there, though.
Yeah, Ricochet.
Yeah, sure.
He's got the moveset that endears himself to the crowd. He's got a little bit of an underdog thing going for him because he's a bit undersized in comparison to a lot of other people on the main roster.
Yeah, I don't think, like, if he's getting F5'd a bunch, I don't see people really asking for one more. No. They want to see him, like, get out of it.
Yeah. As far as best heel, I don't know if he's the best pure heel, but damn it, is he entertaining.
See, that's the problem, though.
And
that's the problem.
See, MJF is good at being entertaining, but he does just enough to pivot to, like, oh, man, I want to see someone get... Because he's not a bad wrestler.
To me, he's borderline comedic heel.
He's not a bad wrestler, but he's not Walter Ciampa level.
Sure, yeah.
Where you're like, oh my god, I love seeing their work.
Yeah, no, I don't really care about that.
He's funny, but he knows when to pivot to really get a good line in there to make you think, okay, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing this guy get beat up a little bit.
Yeah, he does. For him, he does that for me more in his interviews where he's like always in character.
Yeah.
He does that more for me outside of the ring than inside of the ring. Inside of the ring, AEW is like basically buried him out the gate. Like I was really disappointed that he didn't win. What was it? A fatal 4-way?
Oh yeah.
At whatever the show was.
Yeah, the one that Paige won.
Yeah, the one that Paige won. Because there was no reason for Paige to win that. He had already solidified
wins and losses matter now.
Yeah, but he had already gotten his title shot at that point. He didn't need to win that, and he didn't have to eat the loss, I don't think, because that was a fatal 4-way.
Yeah, I don't think MJF ate the loss though either.
No, he didn't, but he did. No, but Paige won that thing. It's like, what are they going to do with MJF? He's below Cody on the heel spectrum.
Cody's not really a full heel.
Dude, this feud with him and Spears, that Cody is full on heel with that.
All right.
He was full on heel with Dustin.
Yeah, but then they made nice.
But he can pivot to full heel.
I don't know. I kind of feel like Spears is kind of the heel in that. He's sitting there with Tully with like, like scheming villain face.
Yeah, he is. But like, come on, he's not. He's not a heel.
We
all know this is to
Spears destroyed Cody's head with the chair.
This is all an experiment to see. No, that's the Stone Cold thing. This is all an experiment to see if they can make something out of it.
Did you ever watch Fyter Fest?
Fyter Fest. That's the one I saw in England. I watched it with Waymaker.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, I watched that. Wait, did I?
Or did you watch Fight for the Fallen?
Oh, that's what I saw.
All right.
That's what I saw.
So you didn't see the crowd reaction when Spears destroyed Cody's head?
Oh, I've seen the video.
They weren't into it.
Yeah. No.
It was shocking.
Bunch of smart marks out there like, oh, that's too real. I'm with them. That's too real, man. Don't do that. Don't do that.
All right, next question. Text question from Joshua, the Dynamic Knight Martinez. What top card superstar should be the next to win 24/7 champion?
It's really difficult to figure out. Well, I put John Cena on here, but he's not. He's an attraction. I put Baron Corbin on there.
Baron?
Is he a top star?
Yeah, I guess so.
He's kind of a top
former GM of Raw, so I guess so.
He's kind of a top star.
Dolph, man. Give it to Dolph.
Dolph's a top star?
Yeah, man. He had a WWE title shot not that long ago.
Goldberg match.
Yeah, that's top star status right there.
Yeah,
give him that 24/7 title.
That's a good answer.
Finally, from the Hadley Doodley champ, he says this week's question comes from the 2 times going in Raw Discord IC champ Dumpster.
The prestigious 2-time going in Raw Discord IC champ Dumpster.
If you could replace every Crisley family member with a wrestler, who would they be?
Let's
Baron
see here.
Would be Todd.
So who's the main guy?
That's Todd, isn't it?
Todd? Okay.
That's Baron Corbin.
Todd, no, is
AJ Styles?
No, Nails. Isn't he the prisoner?
Oh, yeah, okay. That's fine.
He's the prisoner. That's who he is. And then
what's his wife's name?
Julie or Judy?
Okay.
One of the two.
Steve W's Crystal White.
There you go. Okay.
Because she's a prisoner as
well.
She's
a prisoner as well. That's good. Yeah. And then I forget is it Chaz or something like that?
Chase.
Chase is
Baron.
He's Baron. And then I forget what the girl's name is.
Yeah, I don't remember either. Your Crisley knowledge is much vaster than my own, so I expect you to know these.
It's barely. Are they literally in jail right now?
I don't know if they've been arraigned.
I think they have been. Hold on.
They probably had bail.
Crisley in jail. I think Todd Crisley surrenders to police. Let's see here. Hollywood gossip.
Really going to close the show talking about Crisley?
Might as well, right?
Do we have to do this?
Let's see here. They were indicted. The series coordinator could not have chosen not to renew the contracts. Yeah, they're still airing the show.
Yeah, no, they're still promoting it too.
They've turned themselves into authorities and are currently in custody.
How long?
They're scheduled to attend a bond hearing later this afternoon.
Oh, okay. Then they'll be released
on bond. Is there an update on that? Where's the update?
They'll be released on.
Yeah, you
would
think so, right?
Yeah. They'll use some of the tax money they didn't pay the government to pay their way out of jail.
Right. Let's see here. Let's see if Crisley on bond. Out on bond. All right. Woo!
There you go.
Oh, that was scary.
No, it wasn't scary.
I'd hate to think of what would happen to Todd in jail. Anyways. Released on $100,000 bond.
How much were they accused of not paying the government taxes?
Was it like $800,000? Something like that? Could be wrong. I could be completely. It was years. It was like between 2012 and like 2017 or something. It was a ton of years they didn't pay taxes. Man. $100,000 bond, isn't that like, don't you have to actually come up with like 10,000?
I think so.
Something's like 10%.
And then if you
skip,
then either you got to have your collateral, whatever it may be, or you got to come up with the money.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, better not skip bond. We got TV shows to shoot.
Yeah.
See if USA will crank a couple more TV shows out of them. Pay that money
before they go to the Slammer.
I think their ratings would increase if they include all this drama. Then they can just make all that money and pay their freaking taxes, man.
Yeah, they should. Just
if I have to worry about taxes, why can't other people worry about taxes? I worry about tax every damn year.
Me too.
What the heck? Evidently, I could just not pay it for 7 years, and then as long as I save $10,000 and get on a bond, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm probably not gonna be fine.
No, they'll still want your the tax money after the fact plus interest. So the tax money you didn't pay would be that plus a lot more.
I need to become like a libertarian, man. They don't pay taxes.
Well, no.
Isn't it if you become a libertarian, you don't have to pay taxes?
No, if you register as a libertarian, you still have to pay taxes.
Hey, man, don't tread on me, all right? How about that? You can tread all over Matt Chat with your video question by going to Patreon at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. All right, as we roll out of here, I'm going to start looking up tax shelters.
Oh, dear. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you again next week.
Ooh.
Bye.